The sacrament of confirmation is not just some ritual you go through on the side in your life. You know, it has everything to do with who you are and why you exist. It helps you not just become more Catholic. It helps you become more you. See, we exist for a relationship with God, to know and love Him and serve Him, and to love other people as He does, and to be happy with Him forever. The sacraments of initiation bring us into that divine life of God, where we share in His life and become fully alive ourselves, fully who we are, and fully empowered to share His love with the entire world. And all the sacraments of initiation help us to do that. They empower us to do the impossible. And sometimes we're under the impression that we receive those sacraments of initiation, of baptism, of confirmation, of Eucharist, because of the choice of our parents or our choice. Granted, these choices are involved, but primarily it's because God chose you first. In all these sacraments, He's choosing you. He's acting in your life. He's giving you His grace to live out the impossible. In baptism, He reached into your life, most of you as infants, and claimed you as His own, made you His son or daughter, and filled you with His own divine life, so that you could be called a child of God. In the Eucharist, which is the culmination, the highest of all the sacraments, rightly called the most blessed sacrament, we become even physically one with God, who's substantially present in the Eucharist, who's there body, blood, soul, and divinity, and shares His very life with us, and gives us strength for our journey to heaven. In confirmation, which the Catechism calls the sacrament of Christian maturity, the grace that God gave you and started to give you in baptism is completed in you in a more full way, with a more complete outpouring of the Holy Spirit, with a strengthening in the 7 gifts of the Holy Spirit that you need to make you to be holy. And with the grace that the apostles were given, that same type of grace to be a courageous witness before the entire world of the good news of Jesus Christ. Though you probably won't have to do it in a Coliseum, but in your lunchroom, in your football field, you know, in the locker room, where your priest or youth minister, whoever, isn't going, but God is sending you to be a witness in those places to do the impossible. And it's right that the Catechism calls it the sacrament of Christian maturity. You see, Christian maturity, it doesn't just have to do with age or with your own skills, your own knowledge of God. Christian maturity has to do with the grace that He equips you with to live out His divine life. And there's been saints throughout history and martyrs throughout the history of the church who were children who had achieved Christian maturity. One of my favorites is Blessed Jose Sanchez del Rio. There was a persecution of Catholics in Mexico in the early 1900s. He was part of a group that he knew very well could have gotten him killed, and he was thrown in jail. Before his dad could pay his ransom, the authorities got him out of jail, shaved the bottoms of his feet, and made him walk through the center of his village. The whole way he's walking, they said, "Listen, kid, just say one phrase, 'Death to Christ the King.' We'll let you go home." And all he kept saying was, "Viva Cristo Rey, long live Christ the King." What do you want us to tell your family? Tell them I'll see them in heaven. Long live Christ the King. Long live Our Lady of Guadalupe. They got him to the cemetery at the center of his village, held their bayonets up to him and said, "Listen, just say one phrase, we'll let you go home." His last act, he stretched his arms out like a cross and shouted at the top of his lungs, "Viva Cristo Rey." And then with his own blood, he made a cross on the ground and kissed it before he died. He was 14. You can't expect much from me. I'm a teenager. You know, some of the greatest saints in the history of the church were teenagers. And frankly, the ones who weren't, it's only because they lived longer. They became saints while they were teenagers. You think we're doing this whole chosen program and all this stuff because of what we have to give you? It's not. It's because of what we know that you have to give the church and the world when you open your young heart to the grace of God. The grace is going to give you to live out the impossible in the sacrament of confirmation, to be that martyr / witness, not just in the way you die, and hopefully you don't die like Blessed Jose, but in the way you live your everyday life for Jesus Christ in love and service to the whole world. You know, it seems impossible to witness for Christ. It seems impossible to reach out to the kid in the cafeteria who Noah was sitting by. It seems impossible to be pure. And you know what? Gosh darn it, this whole thing is impossible. It's possible to love your enemy. Just like it was impossible for the apostles. It's impossible for us if we weren't chosen. But it's not impossible for God. And that's why He gives us His grace, just like He gave it to the apostles to do the impossible. He gives us the grace of Christian maturity. He chooses us in the sacrament of confirmation.